challenge fans, and welcome to another episode of Redditors React. We're here for a very special 500th episode celebration, and you're all in for quite a treat this week as my guests come from all the way across the pond. No, it's not Kyle and Rogan. It's Levi and George. Guys, it feels really weird being in this chair. I'm not going to lie.
It also feels like the podcast is now being co-produced by Disney because that was so wonderfully cheesy.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
The rest of your life, boys. Well, the reason I'm hosting, it was somebody's birthday last night.
This guy.
Two idiots went out fooling, and they're too damn hungover to do any work. So they asked their favorite American to do it. Lauren said no.
And Lauren wasn't available.
Yeah, Lauren said no, so here I am. So I want to start this off. I need stories from last night. You two got together, went to a bar, FaceTimed me a bunch of times. I was out of it.
Fuck yeah, I did.
So I missed all of that. So let's hear some stories. Just hit me with it. I want to hear all about it.
This is George's mum. For the audio listeners, sorry, but I've got a picture of me and George's mum. George was trying to get in the picture, so I pushed his face away.
He did, the little bastard. She was a big fan of you. You made a good impression. You weren't overly creepy, so we're still friends. So that's completely fine.
Just wait till I meet her a second time.
Levi also won at darts, the bastard. Beat me and 8 of my nearest and dearest. Yeah. I woke up with a new chair in my flat. That's a bit weird. Okay. Not entirely sure how that happened. It's a very nice chair.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's the standings. I'm at the top, Podman.
That's proud of everybody.
I think basically just drank quite a lot. Levi hit on a few of my friends.
Nice.
Got nowhere.
He
lost out competing against my brother.
No, he had
Ed rat jacked him.
First of all, okay, Ed had a bloody 5-year head start on me. Second of all,
5-year head start.
He's known her for 5 years. Second of all, he got the smoke breaks, which I didn't get. So therefore, every time I was in rhythm and suddenly the cigarettes happened, cigarettes are bad for you. Suddenly I'm out of the game for a bit and I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. So I did actually get to the point I was like, oh, fuck it. I'm happy to not win. But it's not about winning. It's about the happiness of everyone. And as long as she's happy and as long as Ed's happy, I'm happy.
That's true. Speaking of happy, did you guys get George a birthday cake and sing him happy birthday? Not that we could do it on the podcast, copyright, but you got him a present.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
For the visual listeners, this magnificent microphone I've got next to me is my gift from Levi, which I am going to use on work calls to show my dominance. It's the equivalent of getting a 9-inch penis out in a locker room. So that'll be fun.
Energy from George there.
Big microphone and big mic energy, actually, if you will.
George, why don't you tell everyone, and by everyone I mean Brian and the listeners from Nicaragua, all about my behaviour in the game of Killer that we played at the darts place?
Okay. So I don't know.
What's Killer?
So do you have Flight Club over in the States, Brian?
We do. Yeah, there's one right across the street from where I work, actually.
Actually, yeah, I think Chicago got your first one. So we obviously went there yesterday. Very good game.
They weren't in the WhatsApp group.
Obviously.
Well, otherwise, why would I be talking about it? We're not sponsored by Flight Club. But it is a fantastic location for all birthdays and celebrations. Yeah. So they've got one game there, which is Killer. So basically, everyone's got their own line on the dartboard, and you've got to go sequentially from the outside ring to the inside ring. When you get to the inside ring, you can then take out opposing teams. Now, for those of you not listening, Levi has just ripped me out of the photo of him and my mum. So
you're now
quite annoyed with you about that one, Levi, to be honest, but that was very, very funny. Anyway. For this game of Killer, you effectively get to the point where you can start taking out other teams. Levi, the little scamp, goes around every team and proceeds to cut a deal with them.
At this point,
watching too much challenge.
At this point, me and my partner Lube are losing. We're the ones that can be close to being eliminated because we don't have enough points on the board.
The Ruby cell.
Exactly. So I had to start cutting deals with people. My favorite deal I cut was with Ed, George's brother, where I was like, dude, we got to get George out. When in my head, I'm like, no, because he had the most power. He had the killer card. So I was like, dude, don't go for us and take us out of the game. You need to take out the people that are your biggest rivals at the moment. We're nothing at the moment. You can take us out at the end and make an easy win. But what I then knew was that on the next round, I wasn't throwing the dart. So I went to Luke, who was my partner, and I said, look, I've cut a deal with Ed, but you don't know I cut a deal with Ed. So if you accidentally hit his number and knock him out the game, that's not on me. But then the good thing is I told George, because Ed went to the bar, Ed's told me that he wants to get you out next. So George on his next dart gets Ed out the game.
That's amazing.
Guess who got to the final of that game?
It was probably Levi.
It was. I fucked up my last dart, which would have won it, and then the guy took us out. But considering we were last, and I politicked to get us all the way to the final, I was quite happy with that. I got 2 championships and 1 final performance.
You're basically Josh. Great social game, shit execution when it matters.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but as I said, I've got 2 championship rings from last night, George. And then I missed the dart at the end, and obviously we then lost. You know what George said? Oh, classic nanny. Unbelievable.
I actually did say that.
I bet Nani would have a really good time with you guys last night. Anywho,
wait, before you go, do you know, I just want to say,
let's go.
I had a really lovely time last night meeting George's girlfriend for the first time. Jess was a lovely girl. I had a really lovely chat with her. And then when it turned out that wasn't actually George's girlfriend that I'd been talking to for 15 minutes, I really liked meeting Alice. So that was an awkward moment.
My brother convinced Levi that a girl who was there from the start was my actual girlfriend, and Levi went to spend 15 minutes chatting to her while I'm just watching this happen, just like, this is amazing. And then when Alice turned up, I was like, so Levi, I'd like to introduce you to my actual girlfriend. Which I should have explained.
Then I introduced you to mine. Her name's Mrs. Hobbs.
You cheeky Brits. You cheeky Brits. Well, since George doesn't have a massive birthday poll to go over this week, let's just keep it moving. No special guest, because I have the most special guests of them all with me here. So let's not waste any more time.
No, I just say, you've not introduced yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I'm Brian, by the way, everybody. Hi. Hijacked the podcast. Yeah, that's it. You guys know me. I'm on this shit all the time. So let's keep it moving. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Challenge back for another wonderful 90 minutes this week. And now that the teams have started to dig their heels in, Agent Ed found himself holding a short straw after Logan hot guyed his way out of trouble last week. He chose the K-Dog to go against the pole wrestle and was quickly dispatched to the Maldives to join his mother on that dope-ass boat and eat Pico de Gallo with gorgeous Hispanic men. Meanwhile, Kyle dropped some familial knowledge in the words of his dying grandfather, joined CT on the Sapphire team, displacing Nelly T and sending him over to the Ruby side where he could work directly with his best bud, Corey. Like trying to work somebody else's shower for the first time. There's a lot of moving parts here. So let's head back to the headquarters and find out what happens when the dust finally settled. All right, back in the house, Nelson and Kyle almost kiss, and Nelson shouts at Kyle for, well, I don't know, nothing. He just kind of seems upset. Kyle, still full of dirt, is equally upset, but mostly because Nelson's upset. And he didn't even get the shower. I know which side you guys are on, obviously. But why do you think this happened? Like, what do you think the real reason for them getting into it was, truly?
So I know the answer. So Levi, do you want to take a guess?
I don't know the answer because I woke up late and haven't watched the episode yet.
You haven't watched the episode?
No. So this is going to be fun for me, but I'm going to say that they no, I have watched the episode. That was a joke. No, what I will say is that the reason that Nelson is so pissed off is because camera time. He wants to get to the nitty gritty with Kyle.
Interesting theory. I mean, he seemed genuinely pretty viscerally mad. Like, I feel like he was letting some stuff out. George, what do you think?
So apparently, Nelson's been going around the house trying to turn people against Kyle all season based on him throwing Devin out in that daily 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so someone told Kyle that he needs to go after Devin.
Was that from the challenge aftermath with the wonderful Devon Simone?
It's a very messy aftermath. Go watch it after. Emy and Darrell get into it. But yeah, I think
Darrell's not on the show.
Yeah, no, he's on the aftermath.
What? Oh, fair enough. Random.
Yeah, shut up, Levi.
I should watch the show that I podcast about.
But yeah, I just think this is classic like challenge crap, right? Nelson was in a comfortable position. Kyle took his thing. Nelson probably thinks him and Kyle are kind of friends, even though they're not anything. And anytime anyone does anything to Nelson, he gets annoyed. People with small IQs get pissed off really easily. That's why I'm never angry.
I did like when Corey took him outside and Nelson was like, "I'm not mad because I'm with you."
Well, so the classic George getting ahead of yourself. Corey gets Nelson out of the room, fresh air. They get some bro to bro pep talk. Like they're outside the bar having a cigarette. I gotta say this. I like the idea of them two kind of like teaming up and like finally winning one of these. Where do you guys think about Corey and Nelson finally like being like, here we are, us two against everybody?
I quite like that they can't win. I think it's part of their charm.
Yeah, I just want them to come second for like the rest of their challenge career. And plus, Kyle and Devon are on the show, and I want them to win more.
Okay,
can I just say something?
I'm going to get this reference, but as the Cubs fan, you saying them losing is part of their charm is actually really kind of digs into my soul. But keep going.
I just want to say something. So there, this isn't a spoiler because all the challenge people are putting on their Instagram stories. They're filming the reunion at the moment in Amsterdam for some reason. And last night they did the first night of the reunion, and production rented them out the bar at the bottom of the hotel just for them. And Carl's got a video on his story. And he walks around this empty bar. He's like, production have hired this bar out for us. And look who's the only person in here. And he turns the camera out and it's just Devon at the bar going, I've rented this place out for Dial. Classic Dial.
I don't get it.
It's just funny because it's Carl and Devon.
Anyway,
Can I just say, I had 4 taxis, council cabs.
Levi, you are the worst guest on a podcast ever. Just let Brian host.
I think he's crushing it. He gave a really irrelevant social media reference, and now he's talking about taxis. So I don't know. I think we're really doing a good job.
I had to wait an hour, and my phone ran out of battery. So George, I woke up and had a text. Are you okay? Yeah, my phone ran out. But anyway, carry on, Brian. Really, really good job.
Speaking of waiting an hour, Kyle gets back in his bedroom after they get off each other, takes off his dirty ass socks. And honestly, he kind of makes this as simple as possible. Anybody who's trying to look for reasons and explanations and strategy and all that, doesn't matter. Kind of what I've been saying all season, but he just really wants to run a final with CT because, as he says, CT wins everything because, duh.
Really fucking good.
But is it too early? Is this too early to be putting such a big target on your back?
I've been told. How many people do you think are going to the final for this?
8.
Like 8 total?
So, like, what? 3 teams of
8.
3 teams of 2 teams of 3.
It's not going to be teams in the final.
Interesting.
Here's my thought: is Kyle's done this year what he did last year. He jumped to get what he wanted too early. Last year he wanted Cam. He took her too early. He wasn't able to protect that. Now this year he wants CT. He's taken him early. He's not going to be able to protect that. And what he's done in the process is he's been so vocal about, well, I want CT to take me to a final, that everyone in their head's going to go, oh no, I want CT to take me to a final. And who are they going to take away? The only person that they can, Kyle. So he's kind of shot himself in the foot. He's done what he did with Cam last year, but with CT. And like last year, he's made it too obvious. And now people are thinking, oh, actually, that's what I want. So yeah, he's bad move.
I just don't understand why they haven't just tried taking CT out. And it's just, why are they letting it be so inevitable? I guess is my question. But I've been asking that all season. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, CT makes everyone who took Psych 101 as a freshman perk their ears up when he defines projection more clearly than anyone ever has. And he says about Kyle, I don't trust him because he's selfish and he's always going to do what's best for him. He doesn't care how it affects anyone else. Got it. Right. So just like CT does anything ever.
Everyone on this show is such a hypocrite. Like,
unbelievable.
There is a actually. it's why it's so shocking to us when people do stuff like Ed did last episode, because it's just like, no, I know you're annoyed with him about that.
I'm not.
No, but like Ed going in, Nelson going into Hallball for Corey, or Ed going into pole wrestle for Logan. I mean, they're different, but it's such a yin to what a yang of gameplay should be in those things. People will remember them forever.
Mm.
There's one way to play this game. Only one person can really win that much money. Go fuck everyone else over and take your cash in the final.
Yeah.
It's
Stop getting annoyed when people do it to you. It's a game.
To take it out of like a TV situation and put it in a real life situation. Let's imagine you're out for your friend's birthday at, let's say, Flight Club Darts, and you're playing a game of Killer, and you know that actually you're not that good at darts. You've just got very lucky in the first 2 games by winning them. But then everyone, when you've done that, is now going, okay, that's the person we want to get rid of. Then you pull back. You say to your partner, don't hit our number. Make us look a bit rubbish. Make us not look like a threat. And then you start making deals. But then you can't be pissed off if someone fucks you over. Like, George, you hit it in our number when we were near the Killer. I wasn't pissed off. I even said, you know what? I'll let that one slide. Let's go for Ed. You just got to... You've got to take the week with the chaff. You've got to nail the sail and the mast and all of that. And you've just got to, yeah. Also, quick thing, something we completely forgot to talk about. Do you remember?
Because I was worried you were going to get off topic eventually.
George, do you remember the no-look bullseye I did?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually.
Do you want to tell them? Because otherwise it looks like I'm bragging.
Levi didn't look at the board and got a bullseye. It was very awesome.
Speaking of bullseyes, after a brief scene of Big T almost falling to her death on a pink flamingo before lifeguard Tori comes and saves the day, we see CT and Emy chat near the barbecue grill outside. But not before CT checks the grill for potential recording devices, which I thought was really weird. Emy comes to the same conclusion that Kyle did and angles to join up with Uncle CT, which, again, because CT, going back to the whole selfish and will do anything only for CT, basically uses his piercing blue eyes and words so mumbled together she probably can barely understand to convince her to potentially sacrifice herself to come over to his team. Question: is CT's infatuation with Emy as a competitor simply because he knows she'll run through a wall for him, no questions asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think we see this later on as well, but the blue team lacks physical strength in its women, and Emy can at least plug that gap a bit so that they can start competing, because Sapphire does need to start winning missions at some point. And
is Emy that good though? Like, that was my question.
Like,
yeah, I'm unsure on that one.
And she tries really hard.
Okay, but what's the difference between Emy and like Amanda, really? Like, as far as being on your team, like what is CT so like? Why is he so good? I don't get it. I don't understand what the difference is.
I'm glad you asked that, because I was thinking about that while I watched the episode. How has Amanda suddenly become a layup? Like, how is she suddenly being referred to as a weak competitor?
You're jumping ahead, Levi.
That is classic George.
No, but that's it is a good time to bring it up, because that's essentially what CT's saying is like, look, I think you're better than Amanda, so come over to my team. It's essentially what he's getting at.
Is it?
And who would you rather run?
Or is it that he knows that she'll do everything that he says and Amanda won't?
That's what I think it is. I think it's more like that Amanda will be more opinionated in like a final situation where maybe like CT just kind of wants everyone that'll like listen to him, which makes sense. I mean, like that's kind of what he did last year with Amber. It was like, hey, just do what I say and run with me and we'll be fine. So I get it, but I don't know. I almost would rather have Amanda in that situation, but we might be getting ahead of ourselves.
I'd like to have
and
Amanda.
Then speaking of Amanda, oh, you're so much better at these segues than me, Levi. Amanda, Josh, and Ashley lounge around talking strategy and going through the hypothetical motions. With some corner cutting editing, because I don't really think she was right there. We see Bettina could hear the conversation through the wall. This leads to her being really upset, bringing noted challenge therapist Corey down to Big T and Logan's sacred shagging spot to talk it out. I gotta say, I didn't really give too much of a heck about Bettina's feelings here, but the important thing is that I want Corey's challenge bucket hat more than anything else. What did you guys think?
I like the fact that even though they're not in a pairs game, Corey's still looking out for Bettina. I think that's quite nice, and it's shown quite a lot of growth in Corey. But I think what we also need to understand is the situation Bettina's in, because she's just a small town girl. And she's living in a lonely world, and she's been thrown into the challenge. And I kind of feel like nobody hates her, but I just feel like no one actually likes her.
Yeah. She's pretty isolated, it seems like. You know, she doesn't have like her buddy.
What, Fessy's dick? Allegedly.
Okay.
Hungover Levi's fun.
Brian, keep him under control. This is your job. You're in for a hell of an afternoon. It doesn't show us anything new. We knew Bettina was probably the lowest ranked. You haven't done your power rankings for a while, Brian, but would Josh still be at the bottom, or would Bettina have been lower than him this episode?
He would just be still at the bottom because I'm lazy. But other than that, yeah, Bettina. I mean, I said it like while going into the episode of the people I was with. I was just like, I think the jig's up for Bettina this week. It seems it's about time. It was pretty telegraphed. I mean, just as anyone who's watched the show can kind of tell, like, all right, well, she's had her run long enough.
To quote you, Brian, if she'd have been at the reunion and she'd have gone to the bar with Dial, do you think she'd have ordered the most expensive thing on the menu?
Absolutely, 100% on MTV's tab.
Sure.
That's a good throwback. I completely forgot about that description. That's so rude.
It's so true, though. Speaking of the most expensive thing on the menu, the next morning the alarm goes off and the agents head off to meet TJ at the mission. So let's head there ourselves to find out which silly game the challenge gods have in store for our heroes today. TJ lets everyone know that they're filming the 500th episode of the challenge, which is honestly kind of a lot.
500!
Yeah, it's a lot.
And we want to thank you for watching.
Well, we're getting there. Kyle jokingly asked CT what the first episode was like, which was funny. Good thing he didn't do that on the internet. Otherwise, he'd have all the snarky know-it-alls tell him, well, actually, CT was not into blah, 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 blah. Anyway,
it's a shame Anissa wasn't still in the game, wasn't it? That would have been funnier. It's a shame Anissa wasn't still in the game. That would have been funny.
It really is, although I thought you guys hated Anissa, but that's a different podcast.
No, that's George.
Well, TJ and the cast, thank us all for watching. And for me, I just got to say, it's like, no, thank you. Like, honestly, thank you to everyone and anyone who's listening to this, who works on production, or TJ or Kyle or anyone who's listening. Because, like, honestly, at least for me, like, truly, like, it really is, like, I think the greatest show ever made. It's my favorite thing to watch. Like honestly, it's my favorite show of all time. So, I mean, they've given me endless hours of entertainment in my life. So I'm like, honestly, thank you guys. And that's the most heartfelt I'll ever be on this podcast. So let's move on. Do you guys have anything to say to that?
Yeah, 500 is legitimately ridiculous. It's very, very impressive. Like, how many episodes of The Real World are there, Brian?
A lot.
499.
Like 35 or something. No, I don't know. A lot. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's a lot.
Can I give you some 500 episode stats, courtesy of @ChallengeStats on Instagram?
Yes,
absolutely,
you can.
Oh, were you wearing a fez? I didn't notice. So there's been 500 episodes. In those 500 episodes, we've had 433 challenges played, 36 finals, 392 eliminations, 30 reunions. I hated every single one of them. 12 days, 8 hours and 57 minutes of running time. So George, let me know when you've got 13 days and you and I are not speaking. They visited 27 countries. They've awarded $14,442,124 in prize money. And there's been 89 champions. Thank you @ChallengeStats on Instagram. Bloody good job as usual.
That is 40 million in winnings. 5 million of that has
14,442,124.
Yeah, 5 million of that has come in the last 5 seasons. That is batshit in terms of how much the value of a win has gone up recently.
That's really weird.
Do you think, because obviously 500 episodes, 433 challenges played, if it wasn't for Final Reckoning, we'd have probably been on about 483 challenges played?
I've never understood why people don't like cliffhangers. I don't get it. Why don't people like it? Is it like because it feels like they're holding in a sneeze? Like, what is it? Like, I've never minded it.
I
Instant,
hate
instant gratification. I don't mind Final Reckoning, but then I never watched it live. It's actually really satisfying on a binge watch, which is why I don't think the cliffhangers bother me.
I watched it live, and I wasn't really on like the Redditor stuff when it was happening. I was like, I liked it when it was on live, and I didn't find out till it was much later that nobody else did, which I thought was weird. But
just while I'm on Challenge Stats' Instagram page, what do you think the average ages of the contestants in Spies, Lies, and Allies?
Probably
31. 4, 3.
29.
Oh. Emmy's doing a big job there.
Yeah,
Reddit
Double Agents was 31.
Too.
Well, the thing is, it would be 26, but Anissa was on it.
Isn't her and CT Dick the same age? Oh, I get it. Wait, quick question. You said 89 different champions. Is that what it said?
Yes, but I think realistically we should say 87 because we're not allowed to talk about two of them.
Well, who?
Ian Camilla.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who I've now just talked about. Sorry, Levi.
Great. That seems like a lot, right? Doesn't that
is
a
lot?
lot?
No, there was a lot of team ones, remember, at the beginning.
I think didn't you average like 6 winners on the first 10 seasons or something mad like that?
I wish there was a way to like do like an asterisk like after that era of, because I'd be curious because that number makes it seem like winning isn't that hard to do.
No, but if you think about it,
not true.
That's 89. That's 89 out of 36 finals. So that is less than 3 per season. When you put it like that, right, it doesn't sound like a lot.
I just, that number seems high, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Also, though, given the debate that we've previously had, is Hunter in that 89? I might actually message Challenge Stats and be like, is Hunter included in that 89? Because I still don't count him as a champion. No offense, Hunter.
He is included in that 89. He is a champion.
I bet he is. I almost guarantee he is. I'd like to see him. You should message him and be like, do a breakdown of those 89 champions and like kind of where they came from and stuff. You should mention and be like, that's an idea for you. Break down like how all the champions. But anywho, let's go back to the mission. TJ lets everyone know essentially what we have here is a rugby, or as us myopic Americans like to call it, football style challenge where they got to take money bags with cartoon dollar signs on them like they're robbing a bank in Rocky and Bullwinkle from one end of the field to the other using various distractions such as smoke bombs and, well, smoke bombs. What did we think of this? What do you think of the setup here?
This had a lot of potential. This had a lot of potential to actually be quite good. Because how good I know you don't like it, but how good is that Final Reckoning challenge where they've got those turnstiles in the middle and Shane is incredibly shady against Jose?
It would have been a lot better if he wasn't throwing it. But yeah, no, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to see large people hit each other. I wish there was a way for all 3 to go at once. That was the only thing I wanted to change, because that would have been quite interesting. Because at the moment, the difference of having 3 guys versus 2 in this is a lot. When you've got like 33% extra than one team, it's so hard to lose.
Oh yeah.
But if it's like, but then you could have had Sapphire and Ruby team up against Emerald to see if they can get a win instead, which would have been quite cool. But that's the thing. Apart from that, like literally great setup.
Can I ask people something? Because it actually, every episode it bugs me, and I haven't said it on the podcast because I keep forgetting to write it down. I miss when TJ would say before every mission, like, welcome to the beautiful Cartagena, Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Why do you think they stopped doing that?
I don't know, because like they're very, like Iceland last year, we knew it was in Iceland. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, as far as the mission, George, as you're fully aware from the conversations I was having last night, I am a huge fan of the rugbies. And for this mission to incorporate all of those wonderful elements of the rugbies that I love so much, it was like watching a challenge, Johnny Wilkinson's challenge. As we all know, he's a very high-profile rugby player at the moment, Johnny Wilkinson.
We do all know that. Yeah.
Huge fan of him.
He retired 7 years ago, but we'll gloss over that.
It's one of those things where every listener already knows that.
Yeah, he retired, came back, won Invasion, won Royal Worlds 2, won Double Agents. But yeah, as a huge fan of the rugbies, I was a huge fan of this challenge. I actually quite like it. What I quite liked about it was the fact that it wasn't like, oh, here's 87 helicopters. Like, it was just, okay, run at them and beat each other up.
I think it would be awesome if 87 helicopters just showed up all at once. You know how loud that would be?
Anywho, one for every challenge champion we're allowed to talk about.
Speaking of allowed to talk about, first one, Emerald begins on offense, Sapphire begins on defense. After Corey screams, "Let's go, Mother Nature," she listens, and the rain starts pouring, giving our heroes an epic feel to their battle. Josh gives Kyle the Derrick Henry stiff arm, making you Brits feel bad about yourselves. Then Tori and Casey give the Sapphire girls the big body moves. Nani lowers the shoulder on Amanda, causing a 5-woman pileup for the last bag. I think Emerald did pretty well, all things considered.
Is Emerald green?
Emerald,
yes.
I think so, yes.
Your second favorite stripper, Levi.
I feel bad for Ruby.
Brian, when you learn to play American football when you're growing up in the States, are you taught to tackle low or tackle high?
You're taught to tackle correctly. You're taught to tackle the rugby correct way. But Americans we think we're way cooler than we're supposed to be. So like we all learn the wrong ways along the way.
Because when we were learning the rugbies, when we were little, we were very much taught to tackle around the kind of knees area. Get the 2 hands around the knees.
So proud of you, Levi.
And then pull the legs towards you as the shoulder goes forward. That'll cause them to lose their balance and obviously get them down. And that, as a connoisseur of the rugbies, myself and Johnny Wilkinson, as we grew up together as children, that's how we used to play, isn't it, George?
Yes, exactly. So basically, Kyle has terrible tackling technique here.
Well, I guess then I'm wrong. I'm wrong then, because we're taught to tackle in like the center, like the midsection area.
Yeah, so I know why though. It's because giving up possession in American football is so important. If you smash the ball out of their hands, that's the only way you can do it there. But it's why there's so many missed tackles in the NFL. I'm shocked at how bad your tackling is.
Yeah,
they're also not allowed to practice it. But now we're talking concussion protocol. And speaking of concussion protocol, next up, Sapphire on offense, Ruby on defense. 6 versus 5, as George said, down 1 man of their 3. CT and Kyle do their best to cause a ruckus, but it's all for naught. Nelson and Logan double team CT, leaving Corey to Kyle. Very Bill Belichickian, and you guys don't really understand this, but Bill Belichick, the Patriots coach, when he had this guy named Darrelle Revis. He was the best cornerback in the league, and so what he would do, his strategy, and it worked, was he would put Revis on like the second best receiver and double team the best receiver. And it was like a strategy, like kind of shut. So that's, I think, what basically their strategy was: leave Corey on. Corey would be the best on Kyle, and then double team CT.
It's very much like in the rugbies with Sir Clive Woodward. And what he did when he managed the Englands, that's the guys doing the scaffolding outside my flat window. But yeah, when he managed the Englands for the World Cups, he was very much all about that Bill Belichickian-esque style. Do you agree, George, as a kind of rugby's fan yourself?
God. It's a good strategy. Corey is going to be able to handle Kyle all day. Like I can't see Kyle getting past him. Well, can I be honest here? The one thing that disappointed me in this bit is that there was no real big hits. I didn't get to see anyone get wrecked.
Sorry, it's really bad.
I think it's because they weren't wearing pads, and I think that was why no one was going like real like. Also, short field. No one was able to really build up speed. Like it was all the field was very compact.
Yeah,
and they don't wear pads, the rugbies, because they're fucking hard.
When they've
Speaking of fucking hard, this proves effective as only Kyle is able to muster up offense. Bettina scores on touch. Can't say the same for Amanda and Ashley. Were met with some staunch defenders in Big T and Emy. Were you surprised at their struggle? Because I kind of was, low-key, a little bit.
George?
Not really, actually. Like Big T, Levi, stop reacting to it. We can't hear a thing.
We can't hear it. We're good, buddy.
Yeah.
We're good.
I thought it was coming from the mic. If it's not, it's just me. You have to deal with the pain.
We've seen Big T be quite good in physical competitions. Like she was pretty good in the mud pit challenge earlier. She's just terrible when she needs. Well, not terrible. She suffers when there's endurance elements. But yeah, I thought her and Emy did a pretty good job here. Not masses to take away, though.
I thought Ashley was a bit of a cock in this. Like,
was she wise?
When she was like having a go at Bettina. Like,
easy
Bettina,
target.
Yeah, but it's like I really like Ashley, which is how all comments start when they're about to become negative. But I just feel like she constantly doesn't take responsibility for any of her own failings and constantly tries to blame other people. And I don't know. I really started feeling sorry for Bettina in this episode. I just felt like I was watching a girl that no one actually liked, just trying to put a brave smile on. It was sad.
My thing was just on that point, they didn't do anything in the first 11 episodes to give me any reason to feel bad for Bettina. Like, I don't know anything about her. She's from Sweden and her hometown's small. And it's like, I mean, whatever. I mean, she came on the show. I don't really feel bad for anybody on these shows, to be honest, but.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Ashley just lashes out when she's disappointed in her own performance, and her performance wasn't great here.
Then she needs to lash out herself and stop lashing out other people. That's all I'll say. But I do like her.
Speaking
I
of lashing
do
out,
like her.
Last round, Ruby on offense, Emerald on defense. Corey and Nelson are both monsters and easily score. Logan drops back for a pass. Corey absolutely dusts Josh, getting wide open in the end zone. Logan throws a perfect spiral, and the Bears win the Super Bowl. And actually, none of that was legal, so it doesn't matter. On the other end, Big T and Emy are swarmed by Tori, Casey, and Nani, who are apparently the greatest defense to ever play the game. And it absolutely dominated overall, just not super ideal for the Ruby team.
Why didn't the touchdown count? Was it because it was caught outside or inside the zone?
It was inside the zone. They had to run it in.
So he had to, basically the opposite of the American footballs.
I liked that. I liked that play though. I'd love to know which of Corey and Nelson or Logan. It probably wasn't Logan came up with that play, because it actually
definitely wasn't Nelson.
It was Corey for sure. It was definitely Corey.
That's fair.
Nelson is fast as fuck, by the way.
Yeah, duh. They're both fucking monsters, man. They're both so athletic. It's like ridiculous.
Did Corey just get new knees out of nowhere?
He's always been good at sprinting. It's his knee which hurts during endurance stuff. But he's also had ACL reconstruction surgery since Bloodlines.
Yeah. How's his meniscus?
Modern medicine, man. What? Like, where are you? When was the last time you were at the doctor?
Me, about 2 weeks ago. But we won't go into that.
Yeah. Speaking of 2 weeks ago, rugby/football game is over, and everyone's
hold on. We didn't talk about the Emerald women.
Oh yeah. Wait. Tori, Casey, and Nani were like beasts out there. That was like impressive. They were swarming.
I need to say something that George is going to hate, which is, for me, out of those three girls, Nani was the MVP because she was the one that you didn't expect to do so well, and she absolutely smashed it.
She ran out of bounds with 2 bags.
Not her fault.
Maybe I didn't watch this episode. I can't remember.
She also, she did well to hold on to the bags on the floor until Casey and Tori came off and got her, but she wasn't the MVP of this at all.
I knew he wouldn't be all right with me saying nice things about Nani.
You're so mad at Nani, and I don't understand what it is.
How?
Can we explore this a little further? Like, why do you hate her so much? Like,
honestly,
is it because she's from Buffalo? Like, is that what it is? Do you not like people from Buffalo, New York? Like, honestly, just let's talk about it.
No, I love Josh Allen.
He's from Wyoming, but anyway,
he's there now.
He's there now. Yeah.
Come on, give me credit for knowing that.
Man, the Nicaraguan listener has loved the last 5 minutes of this podcast.
Every part of it.
I just feel that out of nowhere, somehow these words about being mean about Nani somehow just appeared in my mouth from someone else.
Speaking of appearing in my mouth,
but
you can't just do stop, Brian, stop. You can't just do tenuous links like that.
Emerald are the victors.
Levi,
everybody else is pretty much over it. Cool Kids Club wins again. Guys, let's get your overall thoughts on the mission. On a scale of the drone mission from last season to 10, what score would you give this one?
Can you repeat that, but with a real segue, please, Brian? As opposed to
you
thinking
mean?
of
That
things
was a
coming
real
in my
segue.
mouth.
You can edit it, make it to edit me out completely if you want later.
Just
we
me
need
sitting here
you.
being pissed off.
Guys, we're doing a podcast about a challenge. Can you both shut up?
Sorry, you haven't got drilling in your hungover ears right now.
Oh my God! Speaking
Enough
of
about
drilling in your hungover ears, no, I'm just kidding. What's your guys' score for the mission? Give me a score. Like I said, from the drone challenge the last season to 10.
So I actually found this. I had higher expectations than what we got out of this. We all know I like to see people get hit quite hard. No one got hit. I enjoyed the Logan throw to Corey. There was a nice bit of like strategic play there. I didn't really get to see anything between like. What I was really looking forward to was seeing like CT and Casey actually do something a bit physical, because we've never seen Casey do that. I haven't seen what CT's like at that for years. But I just feel a bit cheated that I didn't get any answers to any of my questions here. So overall design, really good, 8 or a 9. Actual enjoyment factor for it was still good, like a low 7.
I have a question for you, George. Had they put out, like on MTV's YouTube channel, the whole of this mission, but uncut without all like the jump cuts and things like that, so you got to watch the whole thing, do you think you'd have preferred it?
I would definitely have watched that. I do wish they'd start doing that.
Me too.
I have a question, a broad one, a bit of a broad. This might be like a summertime roundtable-esque question. What if they just like showed up to the mission and it was just
the bar exam,
the sport? No, but it was just the sport. It wasn't any special anything. Like if it was just play flag football today, play basketball today. What would you guys think if it was just simple, no extras? Like what would you guys think about that?
Yeah, because then I'd just be watching flag football, which is not why I watch the challenge.
The problem with that is, and it's actually a really good point about why they have to edit it so much. A lot of these people are actually quite untalented at these kind of things. You've obviously got people like, and like the reason the reason they have to edit so much of it is it just literally, it would look shit if it wasn't smash cut together. It's why we'll never get the thing Levi just said about like unedited things making it across. Like the thought of Josh trying to catch a deep ball in a game of flag football, like, come on, mate, that's not happening.
I think it would be entertaining as hell to watch Big T try to run a post route. But you know.
Well, do you remember on either Champs versus Pros or Champs versus Stars where they play slam ball, which is that it's the most American game of all time. It's basically combining basketball. Yeah.
Zach and Lil Romeo.
Best thing in the world.
I really enjoyed that. Actually watching the Champs versus the Pros at that, and I would enjoy that if it was on a challenge season. I just don't think you can have them play the pure sport, because the only reason we watch the pure sport stuff is to see the best in the world do it.
Right.
Like when I play rugby at the weekend, I get like 4. Yeah, true. God, I wish we could bet on the challenge. When I play rugby at the weekend, no one is going to come and watch that. No one is going to want to come and watch that because it's a really shit standard. I just enjoy it doing it. I will go, like, people will go watch the professional version. That's why I just don't think you could ever do this.
To go for that example, you know, all these like silly YouTube and reality boxing matches. Forget the Jake Paul one, because I know people do watch that. But like the one that Fessy and Casey and Josh were on, like literally no one watched it. The arena was pretty much empty. You compare that to Fury Wilder 3 and 2 and 1. Like, ultimately, it's exactly what George says. People don't actually want to watch these fucking reality stars box each other because you watch sport to see high-level sport.
I will watch Ed versus Paulie.
In the hope.
I would actually just take the hit for the podcast and buy that.
I would rather eat a cyanide-flavored raw piece of chicken than watch that.
So cyanide actually tastes really good. It just kills you. So cyanide flavored is actually fine. He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. If I sat you down and said, watch this, or I could poke you in the eye, you would watch it.
No, I didn't say you could poke me in the eye. I said I'd rather poke myself in the eye.
Speaking of getting poked in the eye, headed back to the house Emerald
won?
celebrates their victory around a potted basil plant, and Kyle attempts to join in. Bettina pleads her case to Tori that she wants to get voted in so she can pick her opponent, aka Emy, because let's be real, that's the only way this is really gonna go.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't like that Tori's in charge.
Yeah. Do you think that's just because she's willingly ready to volunteer herself to be in charge? Like, do you think
because
that's
she
part
has
of
a
it?
very high opinion of her own self-importance and therefore puts it onto people so they feel like they have to go to her and make her think she is in charge?
I don't think she's in charge.
No, but she
thinks she's in charge.
She thinks she's in charge and she's convinced everyone else she is.
Okay, here's a question. Who is in charge? If you had to put one person.
Devin.
Obviously,
Devin is actually in charge. Tori's just
in charge.
Isn't that weird though? Isn't that really weird? Don't you think that's weird that he's the cerebral center of all of this?
It's a very interesting point, right? But okay, arguably, who is in charge on the most seasons between season 20 and season 35? Bananas, right? Yeah, and he was in charge because he won so many dailies that he had power and he had a big group.
Hold on, let's go back to this for a second. What seasons did you just put into question?
Like 25 to 20. Yeah,
20 to 35, you said.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
my bad. I didn't hear the numbers right. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, he was in charge.
But so his way of being in charge logically made sense because he won so many dailies, he had power in the house, and he had a big crew behind him. Devin now has that. He's won 3 dailies in a row, and he's got numbers. So it doesn't surprise me that much, but I don't think he would be in charge if it hadn't gone team.
I'm really sorry. I just realized you put a bucket hat on.
That's been on his head for so long.
I just realized
so long.
You're a terrible hungover person, Levi. I'm
horrible hungover. Especially when I'm hungover 6 days in a row at the moment.
Lad.
Speaking of binge drinking, we are spared my favorite part of every episode, which is watching these people get ready for the bar. And I'm really upset they skipped over all of that. And we went straight to, say it with me,
Club
night.
We nailed it. So I can see that. And I believe the reason that we were spared my favorite part of the episode is that we're definitely at the point of the season that they're a little bored and sick of this shit because they all gave extremely minimal effort into their outfits. I don't know if you noticed the amount of white
wearing.
I remember.
The skin of a leopard she murdered.
It looked like a leopard print amateur wrestling outfit.
You know, yeah. I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I am a horrible
Kyle and Nelson kiss and make up. Nelson does it because he can't help himself, and Kyle does it to move forward in the game. Neither apology seemed very genuine, or is it just me?
No, I think that was literally. I was like, yeah, cool. I'll tell you everything. Well, actually, he admits to it. Tells him everything he wants to hear. Nelson probably just always feels he needs to go and rectify any wrong he's in. The only one he didn't really do was with Fessy, but we never really got closure on that. Like,
well, that's because Fessy was the one in the wrong.
Yes, very true.
But like, even when he called like Kayla a filthy slut or wherever he called her, he still went up to her straight away to apologize.
Called her a foul woman and told her to go get fucked in a porta potty, which is not polite.
It's a little poetic, though. You know, I like the phraseology there. I have a question. I think that Nelson genuinely likes Kyle, and that was kind of part of the reason that he apologized. I think he genuinely does like him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you guys think that Kyle genuinely likes anyone besides Kyle?
Devin.
Yes. Devin
is super hot girlfriend.
I think he really likes Nanny. I think he likes Nanny.
Okay.
George doesn't, but Kyle does.
So you just named 2.
No, I'm about to do more.
I'm still kind of on both of those. Okay.
About to do more. I think
Big T.
Yeah, he loves Big T. I think he really likes CT. That's why he keeps crawling back every time CT like screws him over. I actually think Kyle likes everyone and everyone likes Kyle. But I think when the game begins, Kyle doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like Kyle's the type of person. I think Kyle's just the type of person who goes like, and he said it at the beginning. What did he say? He said it goes number one, Kyle, and then the baby, and then everybody else or whatever. I just feel like Kyle's just that type of person where like, I just think that Kyle is always going to be number one over anybody else.
Like, he's our number one, isn't he, George?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think everyone should be number one over anyone else, really.
You should always be your own number one, I think.
Yeah.
Like in life? That's
my number one right there.
I mean, we're talking life philosophies here, but I guess I don't really want to dig too deep into
okay, here we go. This is what I'll say.
That.
If you're in a game of the challenge, your number one should always be yourself, because ultimately you're there to win money for you. So that's why Carl 100%. Says that. I think he does like everyone, but I think every move he makes in the game is to further himself in the game. But as far as like them as people, I think he really likes them. I think he's really happy that he's on the show and mates with all his peeps.
Also, sorry, when I was saying we should always be number one, I still thought we were talking about the challenge. But yeah, I agree with Levi.
Quick question, and then we'll move on from this. On Kyle's like social media, is he like out here? Like I know even like pre-kid, like is he like out and like or him and like Rogan at the club like taking video? Like what is he? I don't know. What is his like life?
Nowadays, his social media is just him being tired because he has a baby.
Okay, but rewind a year. What was his life?
I don't know.
It used to be partying, and then Vicky got pregnant, and it was more like just him chilling with her and the dog. And there was some stuff. I think he was doing some. I don't know whether it was like trading or something to do with property, because he put a load of stuff up that was like him at conferences for that. He's not really put up much. The only partying stuff he's put up is like parties that him and Vicky are having for like baby showers and stuff. But as well, at the same time, what you've got to remember is we've been in some lockdown for 2 years, so you can't really put videos and photos on Instagram of you going partying when all the bars are shut.
That's a solid point, and I had entirely forgotten about the entire COVID thing. Speaking of COVID, Amanda, ever the shit stirs up some shit with Emy, gassing her up about telling Bettina thinks she's an idiot and that if it's a puzzle, Bettina's calling her ass out. Good move by Amanda.
Yeah.
Standard move by Amanda. Are you surprised Bettina fell for it?
No, or Bettina doesn't understand what's going on.
I mean, Emy, are you surprised Emy fell for it?
No. Emy's too trusting to the vets.
Emy's too trusting, and Bettina's a bit naive.
Do you think Emy thinks like she's the vet's number one rookie? And it has been from the beginning. Do you think she is the vet's number one rookie?
Because she's doing what she's being told. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think that Emy is aware? I guess is what Levi, or is that what you're asking? Like, do you think she's aware of how she's being like manipulated? Like, is she? Yeah, that's the right.
Yeah, because I don't think she's aware. I don't think she's aware that she's being manipulated by all of these people. I think she genuinely thinks these people like me, they want me to get further in the game. And I think she's thought that from the beginning when, was it Amanda who said to her, oh, you should go tell Tori and Nisa about the listing?
Yeah. Emy's a tool, but a very valuable tool. It's like the wheel.
I think she's a little more self-aware than you guys give her credit for. I think she's a little savvier than that.
I don't. Well, let's go through the rest of what we see here, then we can discuss that in a bit more detail.
I really like the rest
we see here. Emy confronts Bettina, and it goes great. They hug and kiss and make up and plan a vacation together. This reminds me a little bit of the Great War between Sweden and Romania in 1587. And sorry for getting highfalutin with my references here, guys, but if you don't get it, then just open a book. Anywho, Emy loses her shit, and I imagine it's mostly because the Croatian cuisine is finally getting to her.
Sorry, I love a poo joke.
Big Teen exits. Where do you think Big Teen? I called her Big Teen. Where do you think Big Teen went? She looks like she left. Do you think she like went home or like went out into the hall? Because like they're in their backyard, you know. Like where do you think she went to? It's not like she could just like go out to the street and like smoke a cigarette.
Were they in an actual club?
I think the thing is like built down the street, or like in
no,
yard.
They're actually allowed to go out this year. I think it's a real club.
I thought it was a club, but they've rented it out.
That seems more likely. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like on property.
No, I don't think so. So I actually do think she just walked outside, Brian. But good eye. I think she did just like wander off. But I was very. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, keep going. Sorry.
I do think I had a 1 minute nap during this because I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Basically, after Emy and Bettina had their discussion, Bettina walked out the club, and Emy went and lost her fucking mind. And I don't know if it's because I was hungover this week, but I've been either, I love Emy or I hate Emy. This really just annoyed me. I get she's good for the game, we need more characters like this, but I don't like people who are this overly dramatic over nothing. And Emy really got on my gears this episode.
Here's the question. Emmy's been massively gassed up this season by the challengers, by the community. Do you think she's going to see the fact that everyone likes her and when she comes back, essentially become the Emmy-nator in episodes? Because that's what happened to Camilla. She saw it that everyone liked it the first time, made it part of her character to the point that she couldn't separate it. Is there a danger this could happen to Emy?
Someone on the Reddit called Emy the Romanian Camilla.
I think that it's
sorry. This is the most unprofessional podcast of all time.
I don't know, George. I completely disagree. I think that there's a big difference between the different freakouts. Camilla's was more like you could see it and be like, I there's like a darkness to it, even before like the Leroy, even before like the Leroy shit came out, and like turns out she's been like kind of like had questionable views for a long time. But I just feel like her rants were coming from a dark place, and they were like towards people. Emmys have all been more like internal, more like this is how I'm feeling. It's not like at someone. So while I understand like the kind of like screaming all of a suddenness that is the comparative level of them, I don't know. It's just different. It's a different energy.
I do agree. Like Camilla was fundamentally a bad person. I don't think Emy is a bad person. I just think she's a very young person. Yeah.
Yes.
This was literally, if I was in the same situation, Bettina should never have said who she's going to call out. That was just naive gameplay, right?
Yeah, Bettina's stupid in this game. She doesn't know what's going on.
If someone says, "Oh, I'm going to call this person out because I think I'm being," it's like that's not rude. That's not like attacking anyone's character. Like Emy had no reason to freak out to this extent.
I just think it's been. She's wound up. I think this was just, she's letting a lot of stuff out of her system more than really upset at the team.
Genuine question here.
Yeah.
Do you think if English was Emmy's first language, she'd be freaking out as much? Or do you think it's because she can't actually articulate it to everyone the way that she wants to? Because she's a very good English speaker, but Romanian is her first language. So this is why it comes out like this?
I think so. I think that's definitely got to be part of it for sure.
That's a good question, actually. I think it's probably not as big. It's probably not that big a reason, but I can see it adding some fuel to the fire. God, that was shit analysis. There's just no help at all from me there.
You're hungover.
Well, speaking of shit analysis, the next morning, Amanda dresses up like a member of Cypress Hill and parades around the house saying the quiet part out loud. The only thing that Emerald... What?
I must have fallen asleep for a little
Levi,
bit.
let Brian finish.
I was thinking out loud, Georgie boy.
Speaking of thinking out loud, the only thing that Emerald really cares above all else, and if you guys disagree with me, feel free to speak up, but really, truly above the elimination, above who goes through elimination, above who wins elimination, the only thing Emerald really cares about is that they stay together at all costs. So Amanda, the savvy vet that she is, realizes that that's the want, and so she threatens that, and that sends them scurrying.
It's very, very good point. Do you think they care about keeping all six of them together?
Yes.
Really? Yes. So like if someone offered them Josh for CT or Nanny for, who's another good girl left in the game?
Their girls are fine.
their girls are great, but like you could still improve that Emerald team.
But it's not about improving individual players. You've got a unit that works really, really well together as a six. They've won every single mission.
But to your point, if they were offered CT for Josh, they would take it in 2 seconds, not even a thought behind it.
Yeah, and Nanny for Ashley? Probably not actually.
No.
Ashley's more just
Casey and Nanny they're a pair.
Oh no, but if you literally just looked at them from an ability lens,
sure.
You need to look at all of it. I think Ashley would ruin the kind of where that team is together. Like, you've not seen them argue, even when they're deliberating, they're doing it in a very conversational way. Like, yeah. I mean, what I was saying before is I genuinely don't remember this, but I think I did fall asleep during bits of watching this. But I do think Amanda's a genius. And one thing I will say is it does add an extra dimension to the game, because it used to be, oh, you win, now we've got all the power. If you win, you haven't actually got as much power as you think you have. If your whole thing is about not risking yourself.
That's why the only choice that these Emerald teams are going to make from here on out, and why this was kind of telegraphed, the whole episode was a bit telegraphed as soon as they won, is they're only going to choose people who they know exactly what they're going to do. Which brings us right to the next thing. When Emerald surrounds Emy and strong arms her into volunteering yourself, which works. And it's like, I know that it's probably harder when you're inside of it than us just sitting on a podcast in our homes comfortably. But why do these rookies keep like letting this happen to them? Like, why is Emy so like, why can't Emy see like there's 6 people surrounding me? They obviously are trying to make me do something. Like, I don't understand why they don't, like Ed going in. I mean, like, I just like, what's going on? Like, why do they keep signing up to go home? I don't get it. I don't. Explain it to me, please.
So can you not see the advantage to Emy of going in and switching though?
Yes.
Yeah, but the point, you never go into elimination ever under any circumstances for any reason other than to get a gold skull, which isn't a thing anymore. So like, what?
I disagree. If I was getting towards the end of this, and not to be rude, if I was on a team where I had Big T on my team before a final, I'm going in.
Not to be rude though.
Not to be rude. Unless her endurance has gone better.
No, but you're right. No, you have a point. No, you're right. And like her, I just think that no matter what, your best move is to not go to elimination, no matter what. I think that overall, any details, just don't do it, because the game can change in the next week, you know? Like, I just don't think it's ever a good idea, ever.
You're right. I actually do think you're more right than I am here. But Emy hasn't got 35 seasons of experience here. So we know you've seen every final that's ever been run. You know, there's so many scenarios where they could make it individual. They could do it as different pairs throughout. They could keep it as teams. Emy, at the moment, is 100% certain it's a team-based final. Yeah. So she is playing the game based on that really, really concrete assumption, which is driving all of her behavior. And it means that she will put herself on a team that she thinks will put her in the best place to win.
Do you not think as well that this whole carrot dangling that we've had over the last few seasons of, well, if you go in and you win, you get this, or you get the chance to do this, or you could do this to help your game. Whereas it used to be, you go in and you win and people are a bit scared of you and you don't go in again, or you go in and you lose and you're out. Now it's like, well, if I go in, I can get away from these people. I can start working. And then I think for the vets, they're kind of like, no, I'm all right with where I am at the moment. I'm not going to put myself in. Whereas the rookies are all like, ooh, how do I further myself in the game? Because I want to get in with these vets. And I want to get in with this team. I want to get in. So that's what's driving their motivation. Their motivation at the moment isn't how do I get to the final? Their motivation at the moment is how do I get to the next week? And so they're making all these literally rookie decisions.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. I totally buy that. You're right. I guess if their mindset is week to week, Well, I have a question for you guys. If you say you got next season, they called you, Levi, George, you're coming on. What's up? It's MTV. Like you guys are on. So let me ask you guys: would your mindset be out of these two choices? Would you work under the assumption that the game's going to change, and so trying to force anything is silly, sort of like the way Corey's been playing the last couple seasons, where like I'm just going to let the game happen because it's going to change and there's no point in trying to do anything? Or would you work under the assumption that like I can't predict change, so I can only play the way the rules are set up now?
So
where would your mindset be between those two options?
If it was on this season, I would probably.
No, you don't know the rules. I'm talking about on the plane ride to fucking Romania, where they're filming the next season or whatever. What would your mindset be? Where would you? Which poll would you more? Which bucket would you more be in?
I'd assume there was something that was going to rip up the game.
But you would just lay back, so you would lay out and just let it happen to you?
No, in all fairness, if I'm on my first season of the challenge, I know there's very few chances I win, so I'm going to go in and be an absolute nightmare to make sure I get called back.
Get that check.
So I just do whatever I want.
Okay, let's say you're going into your fourth season. Let's go. You're going to say you're an experienced
shit in Nanny's pillow.
What? You love to do that.
Why do you hate us so much?
You hate her so much.
We've done this for so long now. I'm generally starting to believe it. You guys have really inceptioned me. It's ridiculous.
It's not a joke. It's completely true. It's your behaviour.
Yeah. Okay. If it's my fourth season, I'm pretty established. I'm laying back as long as possible and then trying to make a move before the final.
The thing is, though, George, if it was your fourth season, you'd be a 3-time champ anyway. So, like, people would be scared of you.
Not if you were on the same season, you politicked me into oblivion like you did yesterday.
No, the thing is, I'm very, very aware of my own physical lack of capabilities. So I would have to literally go in and Michaela the shit out of the situation, but Michaela it in a better way than Michaela did it. And then if I got eliminated in the first episode, I'd accept it and not try and like clout chase for the next 10 weeks. But like
oh, that was a good birthday present. Thanks, Levi.
Oh my god.
Speaking of clout chasing.
Yeah, let's go down to nominations. This is all mostly a formality. Bettina comes out and is like, hey, pick me. And Emy comes out and is like, hey, pick me. And then Amanda comes out and is like, hey, fuckheads, if you pick me, I'm going to blow up your spot. And as Brian mentioned earlier in the podcast, that's the only thing you truly care about, so don't mess it up yourselves and vote in Emy. Ultimately, they voted in Emy because they know exactly what Emy's going to do. What did we think about these nominations?
First off, I can't imagine anyone more likely to say, hey, fuckheads, if you pick me, I'm going to blow out your spot than Amanda. So nicely done there. That really, really made me laugh. This was such a by the numbers one, wasn't it? We knew exactly how this deliberation was going to go. It's a bit annoying. I was hoping the deliberations would start getting better.
They've got boring.
I think they will next week. Game. I think next week is when it starts getting juicy. There's no obvious answer as far as that. Well, here I'm getting ahead. Classic George.
So what I did realize in this deliberation, because I noticed Emmanuel, when they did the vote, turned to the side and looked down and moved his hand around. So it is an individual vote, because also TJ said don't tie it. So it's almost like they listened to our podcast last week, realized it was quite an ambiguous situation, re-edited the TJ bit, and then threw it in. Do you agree, Brian?
Yeah. I completely agree. There's no chance that they didn't listen to our podcast last week.
Exactly.
That'd be really weird if they didn't. Yeah.
I mean, TJ follows us.
Speaking of self-flagellation, back at the house, Bettina picks up the nobody believes in me card and shows it to Tori, who basically agrees, but does drop some solid knowledge, letting her know that if and when she makes it to the final, possibly win some money, it'll all be worth it. Which, honestly, it's pretty decent life advice, more than anything. Just stick it out. Hard work pays off.
Oh, we're going to comment on that.
Speaking of silence, CT pulls Emy aside to talk strategy and mumbles worse than ever before. Maybe you guys can do me a favor and clear up exactly what he said for me. I did catch him taking a drive by a Big T. Why does he like dissing Big T more than anything in the world? Why does he get more enjoyment out of that than anything?
I don't think he enjoys it. I think he's just like, it's quite logical. If someone else was, Big T is someone you wouldn't want to run a final with, and he got castigated for saying that. Oh, good word. Sorry, he got castigated for saying that last season, when in fact everyone does feel it. So on the challenge aftermath of the wonderful Devin Simone, the number one draft pick Devin Walker says that Sapphire's actual plan was to, and this was a bit weird, to always keep Big T on one team and Amanda on the other team that wasn't theirs as an anchor, so they knew they could smash them in the final. Which brings us back to the point I was discussing earlier, though. Point there. This perception of Big T isn't just CT. Like, it's a fact that she can't run a quarter of the mile, which is, well, we haven't seen it this season, but not great. The other one is, where is this Amanda thing come off? I think Amanda would be a great partners final. Finals.
I think Amanda's better than Ashley, if I'm being honest. I've always thought Amanda's better than Ashley, and I always thought that if they'd have run the other way in Invasion, in that three-way elimination, Amanda would have the challenge career that Ashley's got. And I also think if Amanda and Zach could have put their differences aside, they would have won Final Reckoning, but then Zach would have stolen the money off her.
Yeah, to me, they're the same player, but Amanda has got much better mental control.
Oh, 100%. I think Amanda is one of the best females in the game. Overall.
You guys, this
Brian,
is
like,
honestly... what do you got? I don't know. This is a wild take, man. I just feel like I don't know. I'm kind of jarred by both of you agreeing so strongly with Levi. When I don't know. That's why I mean, we can sit here and play the what if game, but like the results are the results, man. Ashley's won 2 of these, and like that's not something that a lot of people have done. Like,
I think she's a great player, but like,
what? I mean, she has like that like the part of my French, but that like the je ne sais quoi, she has like the it factor, like there's a reason that she's won twice. Like, I don't know. I mean, Amanda's fine, but like, where is this? What do you? I don't know.
Amanda is better at puzzles. We've seen on the Bloodbath and Invasion. Amanda does it in 20 minutes. Ashley takes about 40. They have got very, very. I think they've got pretty similar endurance. Ashley's stronger. She would win anything there because she's got more weight behind her.
Has she though?
What?
Yes.
What absolutely. What have we ever seen Amanda do though? That I mean, like you're right about the puzzle thing, but like, where are you getting this endurance? Like we've seen Ashley do it. I think you're putting a lot of like you're projecting a lot of hypotheticals.
She won four. Now. She won 4 out of 9 dailies on Final Reckoning.
Okay, Levi, put that hand down. I mean, you're right, but like Zach is also her partner, and Zach has won like every daily he's ever done. So like,
imagine being put in a partnership with someone you absolutely can't stand and still smashing it every time. That just shows how good Amanda is.
I mean, it shows Amanda can put her bullshit aside to play a game, but whatever. I'm not.
Why don't you like Amanda? Why do you treat Amanda the way George treats Nanny?
Just so, Brian, I will ask a different way. Do you agree that Amanda is one of the worst 2 girls in the house and should have been what considered an anchor for the final?
No, absolutely not. I disagree with that. I don't, Ashley's a 2-time champ. I'd take her every day over Amanda.
I don't see
final setting. Yeah,
the second time she won it, she was only in 3 episodes.
No, she wasn't.
It is what it is, dude.
They came in episode 3.
I don't give Final Reckoning any credence. I wipe it from my memory.
Listen, if you're gonna do that, then I mean, I don't mean to do this. I might strike a nerve, but if you're gonna pull that shit, then like, what did Amber do in Double Agents? Like, she won. And like, if we're gonna take stuff away from people, we're gonna put asterisks on it. Like, what did she do to earn that win? Really, she did it, but I'm like asking in the same sense that you.
She played a very, very good under the radar game from episode 1. She won 2 eliminations. Then in the final, she beat CT in a lot of the checkpoints and beat the rest of the people. You can't put an asterisk on that.
I'm not trying to. I'm not at all trying to. But what I'm saying is like, why are you putting an asterisk on one of Ashley's wins?
Because I don't think that she came in after mid-season.
She did
But
not.
that
She came in episode 3, Levi. You're being really harsh there.
Who was the later
Also-
one then?
Corey and Devin.
Oh, okay,
came
my
in
bad.
really-
All right, I'll take responsibility for that. I got them switched the wrong way around.
Yeah.
But like either way, the challenge is not a zero-sum game. The rules are the rules. So if you play within the framework, that's the framework. It's not, you can't. I've never been one who's like one's fairer than the other. One person got screwed by the rule. It's like that's just how the way it goes. Like there's no governing body to this. You know, there's no rule book. There's no referee. It's all just.
Oh, I agree. But if I'm building a challenge team, right, and say, oh my God, I wish they had this. Imagine if they had like a challenge combine, like they used to do at the start of the fresh meat things to rank for new people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Amanda and Ashley would score very, very similarly in that. That's my only point, really. I think they're both good. I think there's a few things where Amanda is a better player. And there's definitely a few things where Ashley's a better player, but I don't think there is an out-and-out winner between them.
I think if they were the only two people in a season, it would literally alternate who won it. That's how on par I think they are with each other.
Yeah.
And I think... I was going to say, I also think Amanda has more... Not in life, because I know Ashley's gone through a lot of shit in her life, but in the game, I think Amanda is able to control her emotions a lot better and keep her head in the game. Whereas I feel Ashley...
You used a good phrase last week that I really, really like. It stuck in my head when you were describing Ashley, and you called her an atomic bomb. And don't you think she uses that as like a weapon though? Like, don't you think she uses that lack of emotional control as like a tool almost?
What, as in like, don't set Ashley off?
Exactly. Like she almost uses it to her advantage. I think Camilla did that too. I think Camilla used that a lot. Like nobody didn't want those problems. So like, I'm not even, I don't want her in my room screaming at me. So I'm not going to vote.
Then the challengers are morons and need to stop being pussies and stop being like, oh, I'm not going to throw Ashley in who's really good at everything in case she shouts at me.
But don't you think that matters?
Yeah, if it's effective, it works. But you know who didn't, who that bullshit didn't work on with Camilla was Amanda.
Oh, for sure. Well, but Amanda's not here for anybody's bullshit. I don't think any bullshit is.
True.
Speaking of bullshit, gang gets a quick workout in because why the hell not? They got nothing else to do after Logan ruined the chessboard last week. Everybody gets their navy blue tank tops on and leaves the house. So let's all head down to the lair, meet them and TJ, and find out what game will be treated to tonight. Emy calls out Bettina because that's the only thing she was ever going to do. Puzzle be damned. Big T seems relieved, although I never really thought she was going to be the one to go in the first place. Did you guys have any thoughts that this would be anyone other than Emy versus Bettina?
Not really. Big T had a lot of confessionals this episode, which slightly threw me. We heard from her more this episode than we've heard from her all season, I think. But yeah, I didn't think this was always going to be Emy versus Bettina. Like there wasn't much editing they could do to hide that, was there?
And they sure did their best. They couldn't stop themselves from doing their best. This episode is a little fluffy.
I did feel like the Big T thing came out of nowhere. Like I didn't feel like, to put the Jake hat on, I didn't feel like they had even explored Big T being a possibility. This is the kind of thing I was talking about. Like
there's an L on the hat. You know what I mean? That's not a Jake hat. You know, that's an L for London. Anywho, speaking of London, let's get back to TJ and find out what game we're playing tonight. Okay, so basically what we have here is 2 rockets that Emy and Bettina have to guide with ropes to fire them up to smash the 5 plates some intern bought at IKEA on the way over and painted targets on earlier in the day. And then it says right here, discussion of elimination. Go.
It reminded me of, I can't remember who Jenna went against, but it was similar to the one in Invasion that Jenna did, where she had to like go around that thing and smash all the pots. It felt like that with the momentum. I think Emy did the right thing.
Sorry, it was exactly the same as the elimination from Rivals 3 where Wes goes against Nate.
Wes and Nani, yeah.
And Nez is what Nate gives like one of the, well, until this episode, one of the worst all-time elimination performances I've ever seen. Wes smashes it.
Yeah.
Bettina's issue was the fact that she kept she'd like get the momentum up, and then it would come back, and she'd like grab the rope and stop it, and then swing it again. So there was no momentum ever.
I think she threw it.
I think Bettina's biggest issue was deciding which meal she would like on the plane ride home.
Well, obviously it's the most expensive one.
The most expensive.
Yeah, with the kosher, she'd obviously go kosher.
But do they have an airport where she lives? Because it's a small town.
I also wonder, here is my other question, and you guys would be able to answer this probably better than me because I'm a back to that myopic American thing. Which one of them had a longer flight home?
Ooh, hello.
Definitely Bettina. They're in Croatia, aren't they? Croatia and Romania are not quite share a border, but very, very close. Sweden is obviously quite...
Okay.
Yeah, Emy could have walked, actually.
I didn't have any larger point there. It was more of a geographical question that I had last night. And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have just looked at a map between then and now.
So is this
we're here now.
called Google?
Well, yeah.
Love me some
Speaking
Google.
of Google, who impressed you and who didn't impress you in this one?
So,
I guess this one's pretty much says
yeah. Do you think Bettina? I still think both at 100% Emy beats her, but I don't think Bettina tried and missed at all. I think she was like, look, no one's really my friend in the house. Corey's nice to me, but it's just he's actually quite a nice guy. No one else there was really going out of their way for her. I just think she's I just think she's done. Like, she didn't want to be there.
I think that also the producers chose this one very carefully because Bettina just doesn't have a ton of like length. And like, I think that just Emy had the natural advantage of being able to like get the rope further out. Like, even if Bettina was using momentum, Emy just would have had more control, like pretty much no matter what, I think.
I feel like Emy gets every single element of the show. Like, she just gets it.
Okay, but time out. You said like an hour ago that she had no idea what the hell was going on. And I said, I think she's savvier than you think she is. And she's like, nope, she's an idiot. And now, fast forward an hour, you have a cup of coffee, you put a hat on, and you're like, you know what? I think Emy's actually pretty smart. What do you guys think? You kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Levi, I am glad Brian called you on that bullshit.
What the hell?
Why have you? Sorry, George. Why have you bloody turned on me?
It's not a turn on anybody. If you're just out here saying wild shit, like, I understand. I get it. You've been on a bit of a binge bender, but like, get it together. Like, stay one stream, buddy.
What basically, if I'm being honest, what I've realized whilst doing this podcast is there were moments whilst I was watching this episode that I definitely did drop off and fall asleep. And as you've been reminding me of certain things in the episode, and I've been going, I don't actually remember this, I've had to make shit up as an answer.
Oh, in fairness, you've done quite well then. We only called you out at the end. You got through about an hour and a half of the pod before we caught you.
I did so well. I was doing so well. But yeah, okay. Well, which one? I'll take back the one I said an hour ago and go with this one. She gets all elements of the game.
So Emy you think she's aware of being manipulated.
That's the one bit she doesn't get.
Got it. Speaking of not getting it, Emy quickly dispatches Bettina back to Sweden, ending her time on the challenge, probably forever. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I think she's got, from some of the stuff I read about her from R.I.P. Grantland, friend of the pod, pre-season, she actually was quite good value on her show. I thought her elimination performance with Corey was impressive, but we just haven't got enough out of her to bring her back. She'd be a bit more expensive next season. You might as well just chuck that money at a new rookie.
We've had 2 weeks in a row where TJ's done the "I'm sure we'll see you again," and then he didn't do it this week, which for me just says quite a lot. I think
I read into that so much.
I do.
Sorry, anyway.
No, I agree. That's why I say I completely read into it. Although he did say to Sean that he'd see him again, and I don't know what Sean's up to nowadays.
You love taking shots at Sean as much as CT loves taking shots at Big T. You bring Sean up on every podcast. Like, it's like my favorite thing in the world.
I'm trying to keep his memory alive. But no. Do you know what Bettina has reminded me of this season? Like Gabby last season, but a bit shitter. So like, she didn't really do much. She didn't really add anything to the show, but you weren't like mad that she was there and you were like, oh yeah, I did quite enjoy watching her, but like, I'm not fussed if I never see her again. She's very much a Gabby light. She's like, if Gabby is the iPhone 13, then Bettina is like the iPhone 13 mini.
I don't think that Gabby has left the house looking as sloppy as Bettina looks on her best day ever in her life.
Oh,
I mean, honestly, Gabby has just much more elegance to her than Bettina. I don't know. That was a weird comparison.
I think
Levi.
I think Levi meant as a character.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Rather than you going straight for her appearance. We don't objectify women on this point. We objectify men.
Whoa.
We only objectify men on this podcast.
Let's be real. Like,
we love objectifying men.
Has a bit more sloppiness to her than Gabby. Gabby's like she like walks on glass. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Speaking of sloppy, do you think Levi looks like the new hot guy of the podcast today?
There we go.
So let's parse through this. So here's the deal. Like, the energy that's being given off was no. That's what I'm saying. Let's not go into details. Your hot guy energy these days, Levi, is off the charts. The thing is, though, the hot guy title is not a fluid thing. You know what I mean? Like, you have it and then somebody else takes it. Like, you guys had the same opportunity to get it. Like, now maybe Levi, you're carrying on the legacy, but like, the belt can only really go to one of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like.
But is it fair that at that point I was unaware that there was a belt available, so I wasn't putting in the effort?
Yeah, you shouldn't try to. It should be natural.
That's George nailed it.
Is it fair that I didn't know that the belt was available at that time, so I was putting in too much effort when really I should have just been me?
That's the point. The fact that you're even worrying about the level of effort means that you're not the new hot guy. You know what I mean?
It's not what you said.
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I mean? Like, yeah. What did you just say when you winked? I was speaking over you.
I said that's not what you said in our private messaging.
Oh, private messaging. Speaking of private messaging, Emy now has a decision to make. I'm not going to waste anybody else's time. This seems incredibly telegraphed. She basically got led down this path by every single veteran. She really had no say in this matter. But for sake of recording's sake, let's go back to TJ and find out what happens when Emy stops being polite and starts getting real. All right. So Emy joins up with the Sapphire team, forms a lean, mean fighting machine of CT, Kyle, Ashley, and herself. Amanda is exiled to the Rui team, solidifying them as the weakest of the bunch. Question: did Emy make the right decision? And who's the best team moving forward? Is Emerald a bit too bloated? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Did Emy make the right decision? No. Was Emy manipulated into making the decision that she thinks is right? Yes. Is it the right decision for Emy in her head? Yes. Is it the right decision for her in the game? No. Is the Sapphire Cell the strongest one? Possibly, in the same way that I remember Team UK, as they got smaller, became stronger. That's kind of my take.
So it's a pretty good take. I agree with a lot of that. First off, Brian, I like the fact that you used the word fighting machine, because I forgot to mention when we were discussing the mission. Emy kicks Bettina in the throat.
Yeah, gave her a good one.
Emmy's a bit.
I didn't hear you. What did you say? I missed it.
I'm not repeating it.
Oh,
he just said right in the dick.
Nice. There it is.
Oh, that's great. That really got me. Well played.
Yeah.
Mine's not a circle, but we'll discuss yours off pod.
Wheel to the left. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with Levi. Emy.
Why was it the wrong decision? I don't get it.
That's why I wanted to ask Levi.
You need to go to Emerald because they're really good.
Yeah, but Emerald doesn't want her.
Yeah, and also
Yeah, but-
anyone who goes to Emerald this early, basically, if you want to go and infiltrate Emerald, you need to do it the episode before the final, or you're going to be the person who gets cycled out of Emerald every time. So, like, say Emy goes down and she picks Nanny to replace, because don't jump on this, but Nanny's the weakest woman on that team.
I hate Nani so much. It's like so ridiculous, dude.
Why are you so mean?
It's like
about
it doesn't
She's done nothing
stop.
to you.
It's like every single segment of the podcast.
You gave Brian a
is just
drink and you still hate her.
anti-Nani and anti-Nani, and it's
Anyway,
I don't know, dude.
say Emy does that, right? The next female elimination day, Casey and Tori and the Emerald team might even throw it to get you out because they don't want you there. Even if they don't, if anyone else goes in, they'll want to be on Emerald, and then they'll just cycle. I mean, they'll just cycle through your position. So actually, it's a very, very risky proposition to go for Emerald at the moment. The other question you asked is interesting. Is, are they bloated? Today, there was a massive advantage to having more people. If we look at arguably the end of one of the greatest seasons of all time, War of the Worlds 2, having more people screwed over the US team so badly. There will be a challenge like that eventually, and Sapphire will clean up.
So
My
here's the
question.
thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So
You
I'm just
might be
thinking,
answering my question now.
from who watched Challenge Aftermath with the wonderful Devon Simone this week?
Me.
So
Really good.
one of the things that Devon brought up was that there was an alliance called the Aquamarine Alliance. Aquamarine, as we know, is the color of the sea, and is therefore a mix of sapphire and emerald. And basically, there was an alliance between sapphire and emerald, which on the surface of, based on the alliance for what Sapphire believed, was to try and weaken the Ruby team. But what it actually was Emerald trying to have Sapphire think that they were in an alliance to keep a dud on each team.
Yeah, we said that earlier.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Carry on, though. I'm
Did you say
enjoying your way of
Aquamarine?
playing it.
Can I ask you a
No.
question though? Can I ask you
Yeah.
a question?
Yeah.
Who said who was the one who claimed that? Like who said that was the
Devin
who was the
Walker.
one who made that claim?
Number one
No
draft
one
pick.
Okay.
draft pick.
Can I just say something, and I know you guys may disagree with me. I think that it's easy for Devin to say that now.
I see the point.
Do you really think that
Controversial.
do you think that they were like that, like deep into that, like at the time? I feel like
Who's
the
deep?
game has been so, I don't know, like it just, I don't know. Maybe he's right, but I feel like it's easy for him to say stuff like Aquamarine Alliance, like this far after the fact.
I
guess
don't
is
think
my only point.
he didn't say Aquamarine Alliance on the Challenge Aftermath, did he, Levi?
Mm-hmm.
Because what the
Because
bit
I
got.
remember it vividly because aquamarine used to be my favorite color. And at school, I was once asked what my favorite color was, and I said aquamarine. And then everyone in my class laughed at me and went, "That's not color." And then the teacher went, "Yes, it is a color, and that's really well thought out answer. Well done, Levi."
You and your teacher deserve swirlies, and I'm pro the rest of your class for laughing at you.
You're pro the rest of my class.
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah. they were right in laughing.
But they weren't. It's a color.
Yes, they were. Because you say,
individualism
when you
should
say
be-
like pretentious shit like that out loud, like that's the type of stuff you like you deserve to be mocked. You know what
I
I
went
mean?
to a
Like,
private
I'm all
primary
for-
school,
I'm
we were all
for big
pretentious.
words and being intelligent and stuff, but like, you know, just like Aquamarines, my favorite. Like, shut up.
It's legitimately like the child
say
version of asking
blue.
someone what their favorite film is, and they say, "Oh, I really love Citizen Kane." No, you fucking don't. It's boring.
Right.
You
It's
just
like
read
you
that it's
don't
good.
like that shit.
Never
If anyone
seen that.
ever says they like Donnie Darko, it's like, no, you don't. Like you're supposed to.
Yeah. Now
Never
shut up
seen
while I go
Donnie
rewatch Lord of the Rings for the 1200th time, because it makes me
Cool.
happy.
Thanks, guys, for bringing back my childhood trauma. But anyway,
Speaking of childhood trauma, what did we think of this episode? Who's the biggest winner? Who's the biggest loser?
Bettina's obviously the biggest loser because she's no longer in the game.
Take Bettina out of it.
No,
With the people that are left,
Amanda
with
is.
the group that's left, who's the biggest winner? Who's the biggest loser?
So ironically, I think Amanda is actually even a bigger loser than Bettina for this, because if you gave everyone a percentage chance of winning this season, Bettina would have had like 0.5%. So her odds of winning have actually only dropped by 0.5%. I would say Amanda's gone from having like 20% down to 10 because now she's been like shifted onto another team. So technically, Amanda's the biggest loser. Biggest winner.
I disagree.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yes.
go on.
Okay, let's say Big T gets eliminated next week, and the team of Ruby is okay. Let's say next girls' week. Let's say Ruby skates to next week. Next boys' week is Big T gets the girls' week. Let me start that over. Let's just say the Ruby team after the next 2 weeks is Corey, Nelson, Logan, Amanda. Mm-hmm. Is that a bad team?
Do we not? No, you're right. It's not. It depends how bad Logan's injury is.
I was about to say, do we know how bad that is?
A final.
So we can't like pretend that we do. So none of us do. So let's just pretend that he's fine.
No, the good thing is though, injured or not, he's still so hot.
So fucking hot. It's unbelievable.
Oh, George, you remember last night we were having a conversation around the table with some of your friends about
very quickly
who's hotter, Logan or Joss? Who won?
Yeah, Logan.
Thank you.
Cool. People can be wrong too. You're right, actually, Brian. That Ruby. So I think when we said at the start of this season, Corey and Nelson can only win a final with someone to do puzzles for them. Amanda's that. So if they can actually, if they can get
way better than Ashley, so like, upgrade for them because Ashley sucks. She rules.
She is a better puzzle master than Ashley, actually. But you're right. If she. Based on one isolated incident 8 seasons ago, because I'm a nerd. But yeah, Ruby has got stronger there. They do need to cut Big T and Logan, but I just don't know what. I don't know what the final's going to look like. Is it going to be teams of equal 4?
None of us know. We don't know. It could be individual. We have no idea what it's going to be.
Here's the question.
The interesting one.
Because I'm glad you said what you said, George, because I genuinely agree that if they can cut Big T and cut Logan, a team of Amanda, Corey, and Nelson can easily win a final. What would be a stronger team? Amanda, Corey, and Nelson in a final. Emy, Ashley, Kyle, and CT in a final. Or the current 6 in Emerald still together in a final. Who'd win that?
God, that's hard.
Whoever had the best weak link.
Yeah.
So who's that?
But this is what I'm asking. Who is the weak link? I would say Josh is the weak link for the Emerald. I don't know what his cardio is like.
It's fun.
He's been training, doing nothing but training for the challenge, and that's what they do is they just run when they train. Like people like him now, he knows that. Like Fessy slimmed down so much. Why do you think that was? Because he knows that he needs to be slim. Because as we fucking talked about, the only thing the final comes down to all the time is
running.
Who can run it? That's it. So that I'm sure Josh's cardio is great because he's been doing nothing but training for the challenge.
So who do you think is the weakest in that team?
The weakest out of everyone you've just said.
No, who's the weakest in each team?
Oh, weakest in each team.
If we're cutting Logan and Big T, and we're saying this is the strongest each of these teams can be.
Okay, so the weakest in Ruby is... Okay, physically, it is Amanda. But you take Amanda out, that team has no chance of winning. So I actually think all three...
She fills holes. So the hole is greater than some of the parts.
Which is why I think a team of Corey, Nelson, and Amanda actually could smash a final.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm questioning why you guys think Amanda's the biggest loser. Like I don't think it's bad for Amanda.
Because she's the biggest loser because this is a hypothetical. Logan and Big T could still be in the team by the end.
Yeah, she's in a worse position than she was before this episode. Being on a team of CT, Kyle, Ashley, and an extra body and Amanda, that's a better team than Ruby is at the moment.
And here's another problem with Amanda. She's now played her card of not wanting to go in, where she said, if you put me in, I'll switch onto your team. So now no one's going to put her in, which is great for her because she's going to make a final, but is bad for her in the sense that she's now stuck on the Ruby team. So she can't get off the Ruby team.
But Ruby can win. Why? It's not inevitable that Emerald keeps winning. Ruby can easily win next week. Guys, there's
not with Nelson on the team.
That's very true. You're so right about that. But think about it really, though. There hasn't been trivia yet. What if trivia is next week and fucking Ruby wins because Big T and Amanda crush it? You know, like that hasn't happened yet. Like it's not inevitable that Emerald wins. Like
also,
these things are random as hell all the time.
Ruby nearly won last week, and that's
They
why I said
should have
earlier.
won last week.
Yeah, that's why I said it earlier as well. We've had a challenge where having more numbers is helpful. I guarantee there'll be one later in the season where having less people on your team makes it easier.
Oh, for sure. But who knows?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I mean, they could show up and, again, it's an extreme, but it could be like fucking the bar exam. It can be anything really when they get there.
I would say the biggest loser in this, I don't really think there is, other than Bettina. I don't think anyone really is a loser. I mean,
I think Emerald took a little bit of a hit, like the Nani Devin portion of Emerald a little bit, because they got scared. They got spooked by Amanda wearing a bucket hat. Like they kind of they looked a little weak. Like they look like they maybe are a little like they showed. You said Amanda played her card. Like they showed their card super heavy by like basically being like the only thing we care about is staying together. And so now the easiest way to just kind of make them do whatever is to just like threaten that, because that seems to be the only thing that they care about. I mean, obviously if they keep winning, it doesn't matter, but like, I just think that they kind of, they're a little more wobbly than I think that they seem to be,
Yeah, it's fair.
Did anyone else think Devin was really quiet this week? No,
he got a lot of first-person perspective stuff though, where he was explaining the game. Didn't see him too much, but to be fair, he's a guy, and it was the girls' elimination day. You should focus on the girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to
Speaking of focusing on the girls, I just want to thank.
How was your night out?
And George.
Hold on. Can we talk about what's coming up next? How do we see this go? Like, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Don't interrupt Brian. He's hosting.
He was trying to end. Does CT get thrown in any scenario later on in this game?
No, it's so boring.
If anybody's smart, if they're smart, yes.
I think Devin is waiting to pull this card. I really hope he is. Like, because all it would take is for Emerald to win next week, or even Ruby. And then you throw. Actually, if Ruby win next week, I would definitely vote in CT.
Why?
Because then you get
him
into
every week.
Yeah, but it's less of an impact next week because you get him to take out someone of either Kyle, Nelson, or Corey.
He'd so pick Kyle.
Who do you think he'd call out? He'd
Kyle.
call out Kyle
Every year.
Or do you think he'd call out Devin?
I don't think
Like, say it was this one. Say it was this elimination. CT was walking down there. Who do you think he picks?
Ooh, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah,
which he can't which he couldn't because Emerald would have won. So if it was blue or red, you probably take Kyle. Nelson's won something similar to this before. Corey's probably a better physical competitor than Kyle. So I think,
Who do you think CT would take?
I think CT would call out Kyle.
Yeah, me too.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anyone.
CT's main rule in every series of the challenge is make Kyle think you're in an alliance and then fuck him over. Of course he's going to pick Kyle.
And this would be Pete because he'd actually be the one to get rid of him. Like every other time he's just voted him in or done something a bit shitty. This time it would actually be like, no, I'm actually sending you home. And then Kyle
Why do you think he keeps doing it?
Just it's easy.
Keeps doing what?
Just fucking with Kyle.
But I don't think it's ever.
He puts himself in that position.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever like, oh, I'm actively going out to screw over Kyle. Kyle is just an easy person to screw over in every because it's War of the Worlds 2. He just knew Kyle was getting sent in and didn't tell him. Not much he could do there. Total Madness didn't screw him over. Double Agents, he just kind of did, but like there was not much else CT could have done there. It was either Kyle or him.
If anything, Nani really fucked Kyle last season. It was more her.
Yeah,
CT.
Nani stopped us having a CT and Fessy Hall brawl, and I'm pretty annoyed about that still.
Jesus Christ, stop taking shots at Nani. It's unbelievable, George.
Yeah, all right, let's wrap this up then. I've become too mean.
Speaking of shots at Nani, Levi, George, I just want to say thank you not only for having me, but allowing me to carry your hungover selves through this podcast. I had a blast. I had a lot of fun writing the running order. So seriously, genuinely, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank
Levi,
you, Brian.
It is your turn to plug social media because that is against my morals and beliefs. So take it away.
Okay. Well, before I plug social media, I think the most important thing is George and I want to say a big thank you to you, Brian. The two of us are an absolute mess, as you can tell by my behavior today. And you were very kind to not only write the running order, but also host today. So thank you very much. I think the most important thing for people to do before they go to our socials is to go to brianrbatty.medium.com, where they can hear your fantastic whimsical approach to breaking down each episode of the challenge every week. And they can continue the conversation there in the comment section. They can continue the conversation on the challenge Reddit, and they can continue the conversation with us. And George is doing it right now by going on our Instagram at Challenge React. But until next week, let's leave you with the big one. It's the trailer for episode 501 of the challenge, Spies, Lies, and Allies.